Joining me now is my friend and colleague and documentary filmmaking partner, Kian Simone. And Kian's on the show because we have some news that we want to tell you about the documentary, Church Under Fire, Canada's War on Christianity. But first of all, Kian, have you caught up on your rest from our grueling cross country tour of the documentary just a couple of weeks ago? I feel like I still haven't, but
it literally took me like a week just to get back to normal.
I didn't,
because it's jumping right back into work, I think. Because we have to wake up for whatever week. We start at 8, technically, but really start earlier. And then just because the time change was so messed up that I really still didn't know what time it was for a few days, waking up for work, it's different than going on vacation. Like, you go to Mexico, you can come back and maybe you got like one day work hangover where you're just trying to get back into it. But I think that because it was a week of grueling travel, it took me a serious another week to get back into it.
With layovers and stuff, we were on like multiple different time zones in a day. Like, it was crazy. And then I didn't know when I should eat, when I should sleep. But I think it was worth it just to make sure that we were able to bring the documentary to the people closest to it, to the churches that were affected by it, and show them our work, which is kind of anxiety inducing because you never know if they think that you did a good job. And it was really important to me, and I know definitely to you, to treat their stories with the care and accuracy that, well, frankly, the other media wouldn't or couldn't.
And I think I shared that with you as well. When I think 2 of the days we had 12 hours of travel and then 1 hour rest and then the show, 2 days straight, and it was so worth it. So worth it, just seeing people's faces and all the hugs and the handshakes and the people who were so emotional. Totally worth it.
Thank yous, like the thank yous from the churches, that really fills up your tank to just like get on that next like 5 a.m. flight the next day when they're saying like, thanks for telling our story accurately. And it's important to hear that from somebody who lived it, who experienced it, because we're just, we weren't there, although you were there for a lot of it and I was there for a lot of it in some of the other churches. But for example, in Aylmer at the Church of God, for them to say thank you, you did this right, that was really important for me because we weren't there as it was all shaking out.
And it was interesting too. A few times in the crowd, people would, or like especially at Phil's. I'll just use this example. When Phil, he was able to point out other pastors that we haven't even heard of, who stood up. They just kind of were able to fly under the radar, and it was cool that we found out that it wasn't just the few, that there was a lot more who, I guess, how I want to say, got lucky.
Or they did it quietly. They didn't attract attention. And I hope maybe they'll be more vocal next time, but I think it's a game day decision for your congregation. Ultimately, at the end of the day, none of these pastors, whether they were vocal about their opposition to the restrictions or quietly just holding church underground, for them, the most important thing was to be able to gather and to worship together. And so I think for a lot of them, like I said, it's a game day decision. Are we going to make this a big fight with the government to embolden more people to do the same? Or today is my most important job, making sure my flock can gather unmolested by the state?
Yeah, it's the general sentiment across the tour, like at least that I got to. Like before I had different preconceived notions and using big words now. Like I was really angry at people who weren't speaking out. I think I was even angry at people who were not following it, but also not speaking out. And that really went away. It really went away when I was able to like just kind of open my mind a little bit and get out of the anger and see like I respect that a lot of just not following it and not voicing their opinion, because then they're asking to get arrested, and that wasn't the play.
Well, and
it was just making sure that everybody was living life normal.
Yeah, and that these pastors are, I guess some of them felt called to be vocally disobedient of the state, and on the flip side, being obedient to God. But the other pastors were also being obedient to God and disobedient to the state in their own way, and that allowed their congregations to gather. So, I mean, I guess it all comes out in the wash, I think, and it's a decision they have to make based on their own theological motivations. It's hard to judge someone when you haven't walked in their shoes. But now that we're home, now that we've sort of digested what went on during our documentary tour, which was, as I cannot stress this enough, grueling. We did a lot of it to save money and make sure that we were in the right places at the right time so that we could be there to show the documentary. You've decided that we've had enough rest. And you're sending us back out on the road again. So tell us, first of all, we're going to BC, and then we're coming back to Alberta. So let's start with the BC portion of this.
Yeah, so I think it's, oh my gosh, is it next
Lord.
week? 8 days we're in Whistler for, I guess you would call that like more of like a VIP event. I think it's less of a get hundreds of people together and watch the movie. It's more of like an intimate kind of thing. And then 2 days later, we're in Powell River, BC. I didn't know Powell River was a thing until it was booked. I guess it is kind of, it's deep in BC. But that one's really fun. That one's like a normal show where hundreds of people can get together and we'll do a nice Q&A and it'll be very fun. I'm very excited to get to BC because I got a lot of angry emails of, why aren't you coming to BC? It's such a hard place to go when you have a film because it's the capital. Like people think Toronto's the capital because they have all the film fests. Vancouver just takes over the entire BC, and all the venues are so scared to play movies that aren't like BC has its own rating system for films. You can get it rated in all of Canada, but you also have to get it rated in BC as well.
Oh, hey, what you just saw there is a clip from my weekly full-length show, The Gunn Show. It airs on Wednesday, but this is the internet. You can watch it whenever you feel like. You just have to become a subscriber to our paywalled premium content. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com to become a member today.